It was the summer of 2019 was intended to be low-key on my part. I had just reached age 21 and was home with my parents for a few weeks. One evening, on a whim, I put a pack on my shoulder and went camping in the dense woods behind their house. No paths, no sites marked, just miles and miles of timber. I'd made overnight excursions back there previously and enjoyed the tranquility, so I didn't think much about it secondarily. By 4, I was walking under the cover of pines and maples, light dancing through leaves like a shifting mosaic. A clearing, soft with moss, an hour further on, ideal for a one-night camp. The wind was filled with sap and warm earth as I set up my little tent, collected tinder, and coaxed a flame to life. As the sun drifted towards the end of the horizon, the entire forest became gold, then copper. It was just the quiet evening I had been longing for, until the voice began. At first it was a low male murmur, irregular and distant, as though someone muttered to himself. The noise floated from everywhere and nowhere, ringing just strong enough to lose direction that I stood still, tilting my head to locate it, but the words, if indeed words there were lost to the trees. I convinced myself it was a hunter, perhaps another camper splitting off unseen terrain. These woods, however, were private and without path. The chances of another camper stumbling upon us were unlikely. The voice continued for a creepy 5 minutes. Not coming closer, not going away, just present. I finally cupped my hands and yelled, "Hello!" Before I'd even gotten the word out, the woods fell silent. No birdsong, no wind, just an instant vacuum of noise. A crawling chill crept over my flesh. I yelled again. Nothing. The sunlight was falling rapidly, painting the trunks a bloody red, and I thought I didn't have to spend the night speculating about who could be hiding. I kicked earth over the embers, gathered as much as I could, and set off further into the forest to create more space between myself and the mysterious voice. 15 frantic minutes later, darkness closing in, I established a crude patch among dense trees. I worked quickly, pitching the tent and striking another small blaze before darkness closed in. Oddly, the deep quiet was comforting. At least I'd hear if someone came near. Hours passed relaxed, skewering marshmallows, letting the sweetness and the snap of burning twigs settle my nerves. Then came the crunch of leaves behind me, sharp, deliberate. I spun toward the sound, lantern light throwing long shadows. Silence. "Hello!" I attempted again, hoping for the same nothingness as previously. But a man emerged into the light of the fire from a completely different position than where I'd heard the sound. Tall, mid-30s at most, in a black jacket. He nodded easily and sat down beside my fire as if he and I were longtime friends. "Didn't mean to scare you," he told me, extending his hands toward the fire. My heart pounded in my ears. "Can I assist you? You may have the wrong campsite," I struggled to say. He regarded me with a look that never quite fit his words. "No," he replied, "just that. No explanation." The atmosphere was thick enough to swallow. Minutes ticked by and there was only the sizzle of burning wood between us. I finally just let out the first thing that came to mind. "Were you the one speaking by another campsite a little while back?" His eyes remained fixed on the fire. His face fell flat. "Must have been someone else," he replied, voice instantly cold. Before I could answer, a stick snapped behind me, precisely where I'd originally suspected the sound was. There was someone else out there. I spun reflexively, pounding heart, but there was only blackness. When I turned back to confront the fire, the man was looking directly at me. I don't know whether he was smiling or his face was stone. Only the dead, glassy gleam in his eyes. I ran. One beat I was sitting. The next I was racing blind into the trees, adrenaline swamping out everything. Behind me, someone shouted something harsh, words lost to the thudding of my feet. Another pair of footsteps came for a nightmare length before disappearing into darkness. Branches scratched at my clothing as I made my way by memory and feeling. At last, the dim light of a road showed through the dark trunks. I arrived at my parents' house shaking, awakened them, and phoned the police. By morning, a small group of officers accompanied me back. The area was spotless. No visitor, no prints, not even the ashes of my hastily abandoned fire pit. Tent, chair, all evidence of my existence erased. Perhaps they were burglars, perhaps something terrible. Either way, I never returned to those woods again. I dreamed of this hike for months. One idyllic weekend alone in an abandoned fire tower in the depths of the mountains. The ranger station deterred me. Unstable, condemned, not cared for in decades. But that only made me more curious. I set out at dawn and left the final paved road behind, and parked on a dirt shoulder, the world already quiet and gray. The forest smelled of damp pine and cold earth as I packed up. For hours of bushwhacking uphill, nothing but a satellite GPS to blink in front of me to keep me from getting lost. The ascent consumed the day. No trail, just crosshatched underbrush and trees so tightly grouped the sky was a thin ribbon. Every mile further back in time it seemed like walking. No cell phone signal, no sounds of traffic in the distance, not even birds for long periods. I started to see how individuals just get lost out here. When the tower finally emerged from the line of trees, my breathing stopped. Its outlines sliced a serrated profile against a purpling sky, rusty metal skeletons, weather-grade wood. Close up the site seemed deserted and yet somehow waiting, as if it had been holding its breath for me. I tried the ladder. The first rung creaked but remained stable. Each step upward sounded like a deep drumbeat. When I reached the summit, the whole valley lay out beneath me, an infinite green ocean where no trace of human existence existed. It was lovely and unnerving, as if being in the middle of some hidden thing. The cabin was inside barely one room. Curled floorboards, broken windows, a fallen cot. I dropped my pack, prepared a hasty meal, and sat watching the sun dissolve behind the ridges until the forest darkened to black. No stars. No moon. Only a darkness so dense it seemed to have life. Not a flashlight. It danced like fire, traveling with purpose, too consistent to be accident. A torch? Out here? My chest constricted. There weren't any trails, no camps. The light vanished behind a hill and didn't reappear. I said it was nothing. I even laughed aloud, a harsh sound that was extinguished in the wind. An hour later, I crossed the outer deck to take one final glance at the night, and stilled, a figure in the clearing below, unmoving, head tilted up toward me. The tremor of my flashlight beam danced across the railing. "Hello!" My voice creaked out into the night. The figure raised one arm, slow, deliberate, like a greeting or a warning, then turned and disappeared into the forest without a sound. I lingered on that stand long enough, peering out towards the trees until my eyes stung. Eventually, fatigue drove me in. I closed the creaking door and settled into my sleeping bag, heart pounding against the boards. Sometime in the middle of the night, the wind ceased. That was when I heard it creak, the rusty groan of the ladder outside. One step, then another. Someone was ascending, slow, deliberate, unhurried. I came up into a sitting position, every fiber screaming. The noise edged up closer. Creak, creak, until it sounded like it had halted just under the hatch. I picked up my pack in trembling hands and crept onto the deck. Quiet, no movement, just the dark emptiness of the forest. I crept toward the ladder opening, then footsteps. Quick. Behind me, a black shadow flashed by the windows on the other side of the platform. Adrenaline kicked in. I climbed onto the ladder and slid, half fell down the slippery metal, palms on fire. Halfway down I glanced up. Couldn't help it. A face leaned over the railing, featureless and frozen, gazing down at me as I slid. I landed and fled. Branches scratched at my eyes. Roots tried to trip me, but terror propelled me like an engine. For hours I pounded through that woods until the crunch of gravel beneath my feet informed me I had reached the road. I never did look back. Even now, occasionally in the stillness of the night, I hear the soft creak of a metal rung and wonder if someone, something, remembers me.